This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey, welcome to Lemon's Car Spotting. It is Eric, it is Nick, and I pointed the right way that time, so go me. And you know how this works. You tag your stuff, Lemon's Car Spotting. We talk about it on here, make fun of the cars, make fun of you, probably us, actually. And and talk about how the cars should be prepared for lemons, so on and so forth. I will let Nick do the method of choosing for our two categories.
Yep. So I'm going to be choosing what Eric picks. Right here, I've got the Lemons build and the hooptiest. Eric, close your eyes. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right. That's the Lemons build. That's what you're doing. I'm doing the hooptiest. Let's go.
Somebody mentioned that they thought it would be funny if I just let you do that forever. Just got up and walked away, but maybe another time.
Oh boy, man.
Well, 88, man.
Yeah, we got it's an 88 coupe with wide whites and wire wheels. That's a hell of a thing.
It's kind of got it all going on there. Yeah, the wire wheels, the big sidewalls, the brown Landau roof over red. It's got the twin exhaust, looks like, with the big tips. Kind of great.
Yeah, I don't even know if I knew there was a two-door version. I mean, I guess I might have sort of known, but man, this is what I love about American cars is like this whole concept of we need to offer every body style for every model was antiquated by like 1971, and they continued to do it until like 1996. This is probably and of course we're using the GM rule of ages here, wherein this looks like a 1978, so it's probably a 1990. Yeah, right. Well, and not only did you have to have a different body style for every model, you also had to have an Oldsmobile and a Chevrolet version.
Right.
So there was a wagon, there was a four-door of this. I mean, choices were limitless. Sales might have been limited.
Yes.
Okay, next up.
Oh yeah,
man! It's just what is that? A New Yorker? Another coupe? Wow,
that looks like a Cordoba.
Yeah,
it's got the medallions and the taillight, which is
is that a Cordoba thing?
I think that's a Cordoba thing. There was also a LeBaron medallion, but that might have come later. Either way, this is big Chrysler personal luxury coupe.
God, see, now this is where I really like the idea of not so much a spec series, but like more of a NASCAR feel where that 88 that we just saw is racing against this Chrysler.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, we did spec Land Yacht at the 10th anniversary race.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe we need to bring that back
as a special. Yeah. Give people enough lead time so they can prepare their Land Yachts. Yeah. I'm totally into it.
Yes. Yes.
Man, what a thing. And then, this kind of car is really few and far between on like normal streets these days. This one doesn't look horribly rusty. It does, it's got lots of patina.
Right.
So.
What, as someone who's owned a 78 Magnum that never ran, I will tell you that the bumper structure would look much more crumbly even from this distance if it was a total rust pile. And it probably is in some way. I'm sure if you put it on jack stands, it would attempt to fold itself in half. But that's kind of normal Chrysler operations from this era.
I can't quite make out the license plate. I don't know where this is.
Nebraska. Oh, this is Josh Hust from Omaha. So this is in Omaha.
Okay. All right. Well, a fine example. Next up. Oh man, America is back. Much like our IOE pattern where American brands tend to dominate. Starting to see that in Lemon's car spotting. Where like if you're walking down the street and need to go to the trouble to pull out your phone to take a picture, like the motivation is often American.
I think so. This is
it's a Gremlin. It's a Gremlin X. Look at that.
Gremlin X, which doesn't actually mean anything. And the fact that the tape stripes and the God, what do you even call those on the C pillar?
It's reminder that we couldn't figure out how to put a window there.
I think that's right. Yeah. All that's painted on it makes me think it's a pretty late Gremlin. If I'm reading the caption right, this is at Victory Auto Wreckers in Bensenville, which I used to live literally a quarter of a mile from, and had the iconic television commercials. Where
is that the one where the guy's door falls off? Yeah. So you can find this on YouTube. It's famous auto wrecker, Chicagoland area, and the guy in the video, he opens the door and it falls off, and then where can I go to get the parts or whatever it was. Famously, Eric he introduced that as a penalty at a Lemons race where you had to make the car door fall off of your Lemons car in order to reenact the Victory Auto Wreckers commercial. Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorites. We got to bring that one back. That's a good one.
I think so. Yeah, 710 East Green in Bensenville near O'Hare is the commercial. We'll
see. That's effective advertising. That's right. Remember what it was for and where it was and the address. I mean,
and they also ran the identical commercial with the same 74 New Yorker for about 23 years. So that was pretty great.
Yeah. Oh, boy. So, Gremlin X, I think you're right. It doesn't mean anything. I used to think that was like, the Gremlin X got the AMC V8, but it didn't, right?
It was you could still get it with the 6, and maybe it had a floor shifter or something. Floor shifter was considered a sporty high-end option in 1976.
Yeah. Well, the famous straight 6, I don't know if it would have been a 232 or a 258, but big old 1,900-pound cast iron thing that runs forever, revs to 1,700 RPM. Fine equipment.
That's right.
All right. We doubled up from last week. I mean, if you're going to double up on a car, that's totally fine. If the poor abandoned Quest in front of the Dollar Tree, but beyond that, I don't think we need to dwell on it. Oh man. All right. Next up. Speaking of abandoned Nissans.
Oh boy. Is that a Pathfinder?
Yeah, Pathfinder first gen with the cool little triangle window on it.
Yeah. These are cool because they look like a truck. It looks like it has a truck topper on it, which it is. It just, they covered the bed permanently.
Well, I think so. The first gen 4Runner, the top was removable, and the only difference between that and the truck was that it didn't have, there was a pass-through behind the front seats.
Right.
It had a back seat. It had carpeting, and it had a little roll bar. But otherwise, the whole thing came off. I don't think the top was actually removable on the Pathfinder. I think it was fixed in place.
We've talked about this pretty frequently on Lemon's Car Spotting, but Nissan is kind of the General Motors of Japan that sees what somebody does and they're like, that's pretty clever. And then they kind of figure out how to do the most half-assed approximation of it.
Right.
You get this.
Yeah. I have a weird childhood memory. I was like, 7 years old, 8 years old when these came out. And I just remember, I would notice weird details on cars, and the little triangle window was what stood out. But then the other thing I remember is that whenever I saw one of these, it was being driven by a maniac. Like even when I was 8, it was like, hey, there goes one of those cars. And it's like swerving through traffic. So, basically the same thing that's happening now with the SRT Cherokee, where it's like, hey, look, it's a moron. So I don't know if that's still true for this generation Pathfinder today, but I remember that from when I was a kid.
Well, if you are an SRT Jeep owner, be sure to chime into the comments and tell us you know them.
Right. Be sure to chime in to the comments about how you were driving 97 miles an hour in the breakdown lane during rush hour.
Which, To your point, by the way, if we look at this specific example, it looks like it has hit everything but a driveway.
Yeah. And then got abandoned.
Yeah. I mean,
I assume that the chalk marks on the tires are some kind of like city thing, like, hey, we are making note of this. We know you must move your car, but then nothing happens and they just keep riding on it.
That sounds about right. I like the mismatched wheels too.
Yeah.
Very mismatched wheels.
Yeah. Although there could be another thing, city parking enforcement likes to do is like, this vehicle is being sought in conjunction with like a missing child. And meanwhile, like the meter maids are just riding on the tires. And it's been there for a year. And all right, next up. Ooh. Why You Ruin Classic.
Yeah.
What is this? A Dodge? Is it a Chrysler? I have no idea. I'm really bad with this sort of late 40s / early 50s American car.
It looks Chrysler-ish to me.
Yeah.
It could be a Chevy, but I don't think it is. I think it's a Dodge or a Chrysler.
Or perhaps a DeSoto.
Nah, it's not a DeSoto. DeSotos were way more over the top with everything chrome-wise. But if you're in the comments, you could probably let us know.
I'm sure you will tell us. This looks like it's in the same general environment as Judge Phil's 41 Plymouth, which, it's got a straight six, what is that, an Atlas motor from like a Trailblazer, modern Trailblazer, Lexus SC, four-wheel independent suspension, and it will never move under its own power in any of our lifetimes because It's one of those projects that is about 12% assembled, and the remaining 88% or whatever is just way too insurmountable.
Yeah. Flathead 6, 3 on the tree. I would be willing to bet.
Yeah. Kind of a classic. It's a classic of that era. This is like the kind of car that our parents would have driven to the Bloomingdale's for the Christmas display.
Yep. It's like a 52, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, something like that. Sure. All right. Next up. Baby. Man, God. I mean, we've said it before. It's slightly cheating to photograph in a junkyard. A little unclear if this is a junkyard or just a guy's yard.
I'm going to say a guy's yard, gauging by the electrical box in the foreground that has obviously been hit on all of the barriers. Obviously, in the foreground, we've got an X19 and MGB. I think it could be a midget, but I think it's wide enough to be an MGB. Yeah.
Plus random dodgy bonds and whatnot in the far background. Yeah. Well, what can we say about X19s and MGBs? We've seen them both in Lemons. X19s, most teams, and I don't fault them for this, kind of do a pretty, serious race. Like they put nice wide wheels on it, sometimes flares, lowered suspension, because these do look like cool little mini exotic cars. So I mean, I think that's a totally fine way to go with one of these. Little Fiat twin cam, which is, one of those motors that some people swear by, but then most of them wind up abandoned. And there's some kind of disconnect between those two facts. But
there was the one on the West Coast for years that ran a 12A rotary.
That's right. Yeah.
I think a turbo on it now. I'm not sure.
Yeah. No, that car, it still pops up every now and again. They have real problems with heat, as you would imagine.
Shocking.
Putting a rotary in the middle of a car rather than towards the end where it can't hurt as many people. But a lot of different ways you could go with something like this. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Next up.
Ooh,
this is a Ponton Mercedes.
Oh, it's pre-Fintail, isn't it?
Yeah. I think this is what they called the Ponton, which I don't know why they call it that. Which was sort of the dorky upright version. It's got the cool little side marker thing on the fender. I think these were column shift if you got the manual.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, this is tagged in Brooklyn. which I'm always amazed in a place like New York City where the weather and the traffic and the street parking is all very hard on vehicles, that something this old could survive.
It's pretty that's pretty hipster. Kind of drops into Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's true.
In its own way. I've always thought that these, and even kind of the later ones, look incredibly British somehow.
Yeah,
very stodgy and, you know.
Well, yeah, my mom famously bought and still owns a very derelict Rover P4, and there are definitely similarities between this and that. And since nobody's ever seen a Rover P4, when I show somebody a picture, it's often the case that, oh, is that an old Mercedes? And like, no, it's even better. So, So it's definitely got a Brooklyn stodginess. If you squint your eyes enough, it almost looks like one of those London cabs.
Yeah, that might be the kind of parallel I'm drawing.
Yeah. And I know that there's a little bit of a forced perspective happening, but I'd like to point out that the modern Mini Cooper in the back is somehow bigger than this four-door Mercedes.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right. Next up. Ooh, a 200SX. God, what a weird car this is. So this was the Silvia, correct?
I think so, like the S12.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know where, like, obviously in Japan, the Silvia originally came out like in the 60s and it's been a continuous thing. Here, did we have... Like, is this the first example of that in this country?
That's a good question.
It was followed by the S13 and the S14. We never got the S15. The sort of sporty rear drive front engine coupe. This one, the S13 and the S14 got adopted by drifters and road racers because it's a decent enough platform to build a quick, fun drive car out of. This one, not so much. You never see these anywhere.
Yeah.
Let alone
there is one that showed up in Lemons at Sebring. It was run by the Grits, the garbage raced in the South, and they had been in the car for several years.
Great acronym for a team name.
Yeah, and I feel like it didn't have that extra window on it. Like it's like I guess it's the C pillar, but
yeah.
It looks tacked on there, and I can't unsee that. And maybe the other car had it raced.
Yeah, I don't know. It could have been like year to year variations.
Super bizarre.
It's just the proportions on this thing are wild. Like it's so square in the front and back. The hood is so long, and then the roof is so low. Yeah. Like it has this sort of squashed, and it's wide. I don't know. I mean, I can't think of another car that looks like this proportionally.
Yeah, it looks like somebody was looking at a Mercedes 450 SL in their driveway and describing it over the phone. Somebody was drawing it.
Yeah. Actually, when you were talking about the C pillar, I was thinking about the 450 SLC, the stretched version that had weird like Venetian blinds and then like another window and a pillar and weird stuff happening back there. Yeah. That's about the only thing that comes close. Otherwise, it's just hella weird.
So much overhang.
Yeah. All right. Last for the week. Wow. We're in. Are we in Canada?
Washington.
Well, actually, we're in Washington, but I think this is a Canadian market because it's actually an Opel Astra, and not a Cavalier.
That fools me entirely.
Yeah. I wouldn't have known. Here, let's see. Obviously, our logo is blocking some of the caption. Opel Astra 1.7D. Does that mean it's a diesel?
Probably.
I tried Googling it, but it doesn't match the European sold Astra. So I'm assuming it's for some odd market like Argentina or South Africa or something. I mean, it's got to be Canadian, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not right-hand drive. So it wouldn't be South. I guess Argentina's left-hand drive. It might be a South American market Opel.
Right. Yeah, that's possible. Well, That's really weird. It looks like it's in good shape. It's got louvers on the back and the side windows, and he's jauntily popped up the sunroof for extra radness.
Those are definitely Cavalier wheels, though. I've seen those on Cavaliers.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. Tell us in the comments what you think happened here.
In his own comment, the Jet City Car Spotting who posted said he thinks that it probably is a Cavalier that's just been rebadged for no apparent reason. So,
that's one of those, like, that doesn't sound very likely, but driving a South American market diesel Opel Cavalier to Washington State also doesn't seem likely. So which, you have to apply your Vulcan logic of which is the most likely of all of the seemingly impossible possibilities.
Yeah, you have to think about what kind of person wants to rebadge a Cavalier and then arrives at the conclusion that an Opel Astra diesel is somehow a desirable outcome.
Yeah, right. Many questions. Well, that brings us to the awards. A lot of choices for the hooptiest. Those first two, the 88 Coupe and the Cordoba Coupe, are definitely in the running. But I'm going to go. Sometimes we pick hooptiest based on model and weirdness, which this weird thing would also apply. I'm going straight on condition this time, and I've got to go. Well, the Fiat, but they all look like that. I got to go with the Pathfinder because it's so hoopty. It's abandoned. The cops have tried to do something about it and failed. So that's it. That's my hooptiest.
Yeah, that's an excellent choice. I love how the paint and the first layer of metal has been scraped off the rear fender. It's pretty great.
Right.
Boy, this is a really tough one for picking a Lemons build. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. You've got the obviously we always like seeing Cordobas.
Yep,
like that's an easy one. We haven't had a Pathfinder. That would be an easy one as well. X19 is always great. Old Mercedes, always great. But I got to say, B-bodies are kind of amazing, GM. and a coupe version of a Delta Royale. Just the chef's kiss. Perfect.
Now, here's the thing. If these are going sequentially in order of how we film them, the last one that we picked for a Lemons build was the almost a slab Lincoln Town Car with the vinyl roof and the chrome lower rockers. And this has both of those as well. So if you take us up on these back-to-back Lemons builds of the week, we could have the greatest Lemons race ever where both of these cars show up.
I mean, the alternative is you have whatever car you already have with a roll cage in it, and you paint it maroon with the reflective rockers and put some kind of ridiculous wheels on it.
Yeah. I mean, this is also true. Like, we got plenty of E36s these days. Why wouldn't you just do this to an E36?
Yep. There you go. I mean, go to a junkyard and pull body panels off and graft down there if you really want it to look amazing. But we'll take a BMW with that.
There was a team that was all worked up about, getting into our good graces with their E30. And I don't know how many times I told them to just go get the whole fender's hood, grill, trunk lid, tail panel from a celebrity, and it doesn't matter how bad it looks, just put it on there. And they could never do it. And they kept asking, like, well, we're still thinking about the celebrity, but what else could we do? Like, there is nothing else. I told you, celebrity, put it on there. And it's just like, a lot of these BMW guys, man, they just can't make the leap.
I mean, Cutlass Sierra also acceptable, but
there's a range of things that are acceptable, but the baseline idea is make your BMW look like a similar year General Motors car.
Boy, I think that's about it. Bring a land yacht. We'll love you forever in Lemons. That's pretty much how it goes. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next week for another episode of Lemons Car Spotting. Be sure to tag your cars with # Lemons Car Spotting, and we will talk about them if they are amazing. And they tend to be amazing.
You guys are doing a good job.
So is the person who built that.
I'm telling you, man. E36 Coupe, white walls, chrome vinyl. Done.